Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with how to build a really basic classical music library. Now, we've done tone poems and symphonies and concertos, but now we're moving over to vocal music. Why? Well, it's the holiday season coming up. Although if this is the year 2786 and you're listening to this in May, it's not the holiday season coming up, but you're going to want this anyway. We're talking about Handel's Messiah. Yes, Messiah. First of all, what are the things we need to know? Some people call it the Messiah. Some people call it Messiah. Don't let snotty people tell you it's one or the other. It's both. You can do whatever you want. Call it whatever you want. It makes no difference. That's number one. Number two, it's an oratorio, a sacred oratorio. What's an oratorio? Well, an oratorio is this big vocal thing. It's kind of like an opera. It tells a story, but it's not staged. Although some of Handel's oratorios could be staged, actually. They're very dramatic. But it tells a story. And the story in this case is Messiah, right? We know what that story is. Everybody knows that story, essentially, which is good because it's familiar. It's not bizarre. You're going to basically hear a series of scenes derived from biblical texts illustrating episodes in the life of Jesus. And, you know, we do it at Christmas time. People who are Christians do it at Christmas time. I listen to it in like February. So there you go, because I can listen to it anytime I want. And so can you. That's the point. It's great music. It's wonderful to hear any time of the year. And it's big. It's long. If you only know the Hallelujah chorus, or some of the more famous numbers, it may come as a surprise. It lasts a good 2.5 hours and in 3 parts. You can take it one part at a time. And here, it's very interesting. When we were listening to symphonies and all these abstract things, without words, I said, listen to it any way you want, any order you want, however you want, doesn't make any difference. And I believe that. I really believe that. But for this piece, which has a narrative text that proceeds in a certain order, it's best to listen to it in clumps. You may not want to play all 3 parts at once. You may not want to listen to more than 20 minutes of it at once. But take it in the order that it comes. Because Handel was a genius. A genius at grouping things together so as to create climaxes and periods of tension and release. And you're going to want to know what the words are. Follow it with the words. And you'll have a much better time. I guarantee you. You really will. The more you focus on it, the more it rewards you. Music with words is not meant to be ignored. That's why it has words. Music with, out words, yeah, you can do other things. You can do laundry. You can do homework. You can do, whatever you want. You can drive around. It's all fine. But if it's got a text, you have to give the text some serious consideration, which means paying attention, and paying attention over a span. So that's my advice, really. The work itself is so beautiful and so effective in what it does that I think, you're going to be in great shape anyway, no matter what, no matter which version you're listening to or when you're listening to it, but give it a chance. Now, what does this oratorio consist of? Let's talk about sort of the musical elements. An oratorio in Handel's day, and Handel invented sacred oratorios like this. This was his thing. When his opera venture in London failed, which it did eventually, or he gave up writing operas in Italian, he started writing these oratorios in English to, keep his business going. Which is what he was. He was a professional concert promoter, promoting his own music mostly. That was his career. And an oratorio consists of arias, which are songs, essentially, interspersed with choruses. You know what those are. Hallelujah. It's chorus, right? And then what they call recitative or recitation. Now, recitative is sung speech. it gets you over the plot business between the big numbers, the songs and the choruses. And recitative comes in two varieties. There is secco, or dry recitative, where you simply have someone singing some text rather quickly over simple chords on either an organ or a harpsichord with maybe a cello on the bottom, something like that. They generally get through it quickly so you could hustle on to the next number, or accompanied or accompagnato recitative, which is the same thing, only accompanied by the full orchestra, or in this case it's the string section largely. That's more dramatic and more musical, and it sometimes breaks into snatches of song-like or lyrical elements, but it's basically delivering text. And again, if you're not going to pay attention to it, then what's the point? I mean, they're speaking to you. I mean, they're actually speaking to you. They're saying, here, this is what we're talking about. And so you need to focus on it. In the case of Messiah, where the story is, a sequence of biblical scenes, it's not as dramatic as some of Handel's other oratorios, where you've got like a real plot, and act like in Saul, for example, or one of those Solomon, one of the Old Testament ones where you've got stories, Joshua, the Battle of Jericho. I mean, that kind of stuff is in there. It's all in these pieces. And oh my gosh, Handel does it fabulously. But in Messiah, it's more contemplative, and it's a little bit less interactive in terms of there aren't characters that you have in the other oratorios. You don't get actual characters who are acting things out. They're narrating in the case of Messiah. But it's still a very interesting and incidental and is full of incident narration. And, it tells the story of Jesus' life. So, that was not an uneventful thing. I think possibly the best way, I think, when you're really, really into it, not just because it's Christmas or whatever, but if you're really interested in enjoying great music, really, really great music, take a look at the words first. It always helps. Read the booklet, take a look at the words. You can even find them online if your recording doesn't come, if you're downloading and it doesn't come with the text. Take a look at the words. Look at what they're singing about, because the truth of the matter is, and this is the bottom line, if the words don't interest you, if the subject doesn't strike you as interesting, you're not going to really care too much about the musical setting, are you? I mean, honestly? I mean, I have, I'm not Christian, right? I'm Jewish. I listen to Messiah play timpani in millions of performances of Messiah. I like the words. I think they're meaningful. I think they're meaningful irrespective of your religious affiliation, or whether you're an atheist or an agnostic, or whether you're a true believer. These words are meaningful. They're actually beautiful in places. And I think that it really enhances your experience immeasurably if you pay attention to the text. It's very funny, in the universe of classical music, there is this sort of duality between instrumental, sort of abstract instrumental music with no words and music with words. It is a fact, an absolute historical fact, that all composers regarded the highest and best thing that they could do is to write music with words. They wanted to communicate. Even composers famous for their instrumental music, Brahms, for example. Brahms is absolutely the ultimate romantic, instrumental, abstract music master, right? Yeah, sure. What did he spend most of his life doing? Writing songs. Hundreds of songs. That's what he did. And he wrote songs, and he wrote choruses, and he wrote the German Requiem. I mean, but, composers always appreciated, at least until the modern age, when everything went kind of screwy, always appreciated the value of speaking directly to the audience and setting texts that had meaning to the audience. Now, Handel was in good shape when he came to Messiah, because that story had meaning to everybody in his crowd. basically everybody in his crowd. But in England at the time, the majority, let's put it that way. I mean, his librettist, who was what, Charles Jennens or someone like that, said that, he has a topic that exceedeth all others, and because it was the ultimate story in Christianity. So let's be straightforward about that. I think that it's kind of interesting because when I was getting into classical music, there were the opera people, the vocal people, who we all thought were kind of crazy, and then there were the instrumental people who we all thought were, well, they weren't crazy, they were at least a bit more normal. And classical singing is an issue all by itself because a lot of people cannot stand the sound of operatic voices. And I understand that because I couldn't stand it when I was growing up. I thought it was just annoying. But when you realize that these are people singing without amplification, this is what a trained voice can do to reach hundreds and hundreds of people, thousands of people without using a microphone. One of the best ways to actually get into Handel's Messiah or any of these works is to see them live. Because one thing is absolutely true. Operatic voices sound much better live than they do on recordings. Because in recordings, they usually stick the microphones down into their tonsils and you hear every breath and every screech, and it's sort of, balance is just a huge issue. But in a real space, a big space, when you hear the power of the voice coming at you through the intervening yards between you and the performers, all of a sudden it makes great sense. The balances are natural. It's quite lovely. It really makes sense when you're indulging in your library building, fun and frolic, to take in a couple concerts of vocal music, especially. It makes all the difference in the world, I think, to your understanding and enjoyment of recordings. You'll have a much better sense of what's going on. And that's just my advice. That's just my advice. You don't have to take it, of course. You can start with a recording and listen to it and see how well you enjoy it. And if you do, then you go see it live. You can do it the other way as well. But if you are one of those people, and there are a lot of them, who sort of balk at the notion of these people standing up and hooting at you in stentorian tones, go see it live. Don't give up. Take a chance on it, and you'll find, I think, that you'll have an entire universe of difference. And that's just my suggestion to get you going. So I did a big repertoire video on best recordings of Messiah, which the link to which is down below, and you can have a look at that video if you're curious. It'll give you some sense of what to purchase or download or whatever you want to do, and I hope that you get into this, because oh my God, there's so much great music, not just by Handel but by lots of other people, although Handel wrote tons of it. I mean, if you enjoy it, there is a fabulous world waiting for you to explore. Just amazing stuff, I guarantee it. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.